Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is WatchArtSci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what we're going to do, we're going to be talking about a relatively new watch company, and that's Montblanc. Most people know of Montblanc because they make great pins. But first, before we get started, we're going to take a look at the Watch of the Week. This week we have James Wong's uh, Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso. I think we've had watches like this before, but I somehow, every time I see one, oh boy, that's a great watch. Uh, this one has one of my favorite. I think it's sometimes called the night and day or travel time. And what you can do with it, you can keep either two times on it, or you can simply have one swap it back and forth for night and day. The dark side, or the night side, has the round insert, whereas the day side, the sort of grayish and white side, has the is more of a squarish one, and it's got the small seconds in a square box, whereas the night one has in a rounder one. Anyway, James, even though we've talked about watches like this before and Watch of the Week, it's always a special one for me, and thank you very much for sharing that with us. Okay, let's get started on Montblanc. And Montblanc is, I had a very hard time with it in certain respects. Okay, it's a fairly complicated watch company. I divided it into three categories: the Standard Horology, Strong Horology, and High Horology. And it certainly has all three, but most of the watches they have fall within the category of Standard Horology. These are generally watches with um, sort of standard movements in them, such as Salida and ETA. And even though they have a Mont Blanc designation, they're not in-house kind of movements. And there are several different models they make: the 4810, the Heritage Chronometer, Heritage Spirit, Tradition, Star, the Bohemie, which is a women's line of watches, the Star Classic, the Time Walker, which is a travel watch, the Heritage Spirit, the Tradition, and the 1851. Now, a couple of those have stars by them, and what that means is that they have some models of those watches that are either part of Strong Horology or High Horology. For example, one of the Bohemie it has one of the women's watches. It has a tourbillon in it, and it's a totally different. It's not either ETA or Salida movements in it, but it's an in-house Mont Blanc movement. And the 1858, one of those, the Chronograph tachometer limited edition, that won the 2016 Chronograph award. So I mean, that's like seriously high horology on those watches. Okay, so let's get started and taking a look at Montblanc. And like I said, the standards are standards, and I'd rather spend time looking at the Strong Horology and High Horology. Okay, first of all, the Standard Horology. These are some examples of what they have. The Time Walker. Time Walker I like a lot. I like the looks of it, again, but liking the looks and what's inside are often two different things. These watches range in price from right around $1,000 to up to around $5,000, and that's, to me, is the higher end is a bit too high for Standard Horology. That's but that's what I always say. But that doesn't mean you don't have some neat looking watches. Now, on the lower side, you have something like the Heritage I have pictured there. It's very plain watch, and You can find those for right around 1,000 on places like Joma Shop that are take the new stock and give it at a discount. The Bohemia has a number of different watches, primarily for more of a women's style watch. And the Star has a lot of different kinds of watches. This one I have here is a moon phase. But like I said, it's hard to even really get excited about any of them unless you have, like, you got $1,000 you want to burn and you want a Montblanc. You might be able to find one. By the way, too, you can go to places like Chrono24 or eBay or any of the other places where you find used watches, and you can get some good buys on these. But again, horologically speaking, they're pretty standard. Now, the watch, to me, that really makes it for Montblanc is the Nicolas Richer. This watch, the Risec is just a solid watch from beginning to end. Okay, and they're reasonably priced too, brand new. I think that the low end on these on the Risec, Nicolas Risec, are right around, I think, around 7,000. Now this is a comparable horology that you find in Rolex and Zenith. You're really, really strong horological watches. This particular one is one of my favorite. Not only is it one of my favorite of Montblanc, of all Strong Horology watches, I think this is one of the best buys and one of the best looking watches. I really like this watch a lot. And they have several different models. This one has a black dial on it, and the whole experience of this watch, I think, is extremely well designed watch. It has an in-house movement called the MBR200. Now, if you go to some place like Watch Base and you're looking at Montblanc calibers, I'll tell you an easy way to to separate the sort of the ETA and Solitas from the in-house, and that is that the calibers that have MB and then a number are not in-house. If they have MB and M or R or LL, these are either in-house or Minerva, and I'll talk about the Minervas in a second. Those are really interesting. Okay, now this particular one, the movement was manufactured in Leclerc, Switzerland, and here Montblanc set up their own manufacturing for that. All right. This to me is where I hope Montblanc goes further, because they have done such a good job with this watch. They have a wonderful movement, and it has a lot of tradition in this watch, and so I really like this watch. Like I said, it's very reasonably priced too. Okay. So but it's sort of like it's one model that they have, and I wish they would bring up some of their other models that are in Standard Horology up to this stronger horology using some in-house movements. I don't think they're going to listen to me though. All right, let's take a look at the next level is your High Horology, and your High Horology is very high, and it's a very strange thing. There's a movement company called Minerva, and Minerva is famous for making these great movements. They don't make a lot of them. They're sort of on the same level as Vaussure or not quite Agenhor, but they're up there. They're really an excellent movement company. And Richemont, the sort of the mothership of Montblanc and Vacheron Constantin and A-Long, all of these other watch companies bought it pretty much. And and they also Richemont owns Montblanc, and so they said, "Aha, here is a company that you can work with to make your very best watches." And they have, and they put it in the town of Villeray. Villeray, as you may or may not know, was the town where Blancpain, for years, they were the town watchmaker. And they left when they were at some point in time. I'm not exactly sure. But they're not there anymore. And so Minerva, which was hanging on by a thread, now with Montblanc using their movements, this has been a lifesaver for Villeray. I think Longines is also made in Villeray. Okay, so here you have your, this particular watch I have, the example of this is called the Villeray 1858 vintage pulsograph. This is a very, very nice watch. And it's certainly, it's definitely a high horology. And it has some reviewers are sort of snarky about the fact that it has a Minerva. They said, well, you shouldn't call it the MB M116 or M1632. You should call it a Minerva. Okay. All right. It is a Minerva, and Minerva is, and it's also a very limited edition. Now, this is the only downside of it. It's a legitimate limited edition in that the kind of craftsmanship and workmanship that go into Minervas, you can't make that many. And so here you have a real limited edition. Limited editions, though, like I said, there's something I always got rubbed the wrong way. This particular watch, it runs around, I think, $20,000-$30,000. A very expensive watch, but not for high horology. I mean, you look at Vacheron Constantin and Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet. That's not all unusual for that price range. And this is use some super good watches for that. Okay, now let's take a look at a couple of Grand Prix winners they had. Now, the first one is a Star World Time GMT Automatic. Now, this was won back in 2011, and it's got a ETA in it, but it is a nice watch. It's part of their. It's called the Star World Time GMT Automatic. I don't think they make this particular one anymore. They have a different set that are part of their heritage, I believe. But boy, I tell you, I like this watch. I mean, you can find these. You can find them available. And to me, they're a really good buy on the used market. I think they go for around $2,000. So it's a neat watch. It's a World Time GMT travel watch. And the thing about it that I like is that it has all of the different cities around the just inside of the bezel, and it's a beautiful watch too. They have the balance on the sweep pan is a little Montblanc logo. Okay, so that's now they won the Petite Aiguille with this watch, which is for watches under 8,000 Swiss francs, and that's a nice award because it's going up against other ones within that same price range, and so that's another reason that I like it. Okay, but like I said, it doesn't have an in-house movement, and a lot of Petite Aiguille winners do. Harboring 2 has my Felix has an in-house movement, and so do most of the other winners too. But that's okay. All right. Now another winner. Now this one is in 2016. This is a very recent win, and this is for their 1858 chronograph tachometer limited edition. Again, there's that limited edition again, and it's a really nice watch. Now this is one I think this one is around 20,000. That's a lot, but not unusual for a watch of this caliber. And it won the Chronograph Award, which is a big deal. The Chronograph, I mean, if you're the Patek wheel and sports watch, they don't quite give that the same weight, I don't think. But boy, the chronographs, they do. That's saying, man, you got a super good watch there. And it's up against your best chronographs. It's got the onion-shaped crown on it, and it's a very clean watch, and it's really quite nice. Yeah, 25,000 Swiss francs was what it was back in 2011. I don't know if I mean, last year, but so it's probably right around 25,000 euros, 20,000, right in there. Neat watch. Congratulations on this win by Montblanc. Okay, now having looked at these at Montblanc watches, they're they have a certain style, and they have a great deal of, well, let's say, respect for tradition, and in the designs, and in, for example, the Nicholas Rizek uh, was based on Nicholas Rizek's designs, and had a number of features in there like that. And I like that about Montblanc. And again, we're talking about mechanical watches, so we're really talking about watches that are somewhat archaic in their whole idea of it. And but Montblanc, I think, is really one to consider in for strong horology and even for high horology. But one of my favorite strong horology watches, and it hasn't won any awards. I think it was a finalist or something in one of them, is that Nicholas Rizek, and it's one I think it's worth just taking a look at if you're in the market for a watch of that caliber. If you're looking at Rolexes and you're looking at Zeniths. Uh, El Primeros, and you're looking at Omega Speedmasters. Take a look at this. This is I think it's a neat watch, and it's one that a lot of people might overlook otherwise. Okay, well, as always, I'm very interested in what your opinions are. What do you think? Uh, just like to hear from you, obviously, and also this is always just an invitation to subscribe. And this has been Bill Sanders for WatchArtSci, the art and science of watch collection. Hope to see you on Sunday for our collection review.